Hey guys, I'm Jeremy, and today I'll tell you about a trip I did to Rocky Mountain National Park, which has the highest road in the United States. And trust me, it's pretty scary because when I went there as a kid, my mom literally pulled over and started crying like as we got to the top. So it's definitely really touristy, but it's still worth checking out. So on this trip, I actually ended up going with a tour group, which I generally don't do, but we were looking at some collaboration and stuff, so I figured I'd go and check it out. And so there's a couple of different ways from Denver to get to Rocky Mountain National Park. You'll either go through Estes Park, which is actually a small city, basically. I think when a lot of people see Estes Park, they think that that's like a national park or something, but that's just the city. And then the other way on the west end, you could also come up through Grand Lake, which is a little bit of a smaller town. So I think most people go through Estes Park. So it's a little bit complicated going in. You're supposed to have like a regular pass to go in that you have to pay like $30 a vehicle. But then the difficult part is you need a timed reservation. So for instance, it might be like from 8 to 10 o'clock you can go in, or from 10 to noon, or noon to 2. So they're like 2-hour intervals throughout the day. And obviously most of those tickets in the morning are taken. Like if I look right now, for instance, most of the ones for the next couple weeks are going to be taken, except for like the late day ones. So that's something you're going to have to do if you're going to go there. You're going to have to plan that aspect in advance. Now I did read something that said like if you get there really early, like before 8 or 9, or after a certain time, you can get in on that main road, but that didn't really make sense. So you'll have to read into that a little more. So you have to figure out this timed reservation thing. And then there's two different park passes. You either have the regular one, which basically takes you through like the main road through the park. And then there's the extra one for the Bear Lake Road. And that takes you down to some of the beautiful lakes in Long's Peak. And so I would try to get both. I mean, if you just have the regular park pass, it's beautiful, it's nice, you could get up to the highest point and everything like that. But if you really want to see some of the most beautiful alpine lakes and stuff like that, I would definitely get that Bear Lake Pass as well. But that's also going to be harder to get reservations for, you know, to go in. So you're going to have to look at like 2-3 weeks in advance or whatever for that. My advice would be to do it in 2 days. Maybe go in on the timed reservation on like one day and drive through the park on the main road. And then you could like camp down that Bear Lake Road at like one of the campgrounds there. I think the one I saw was Glacier Basin Campground. So once again, that'll be booked about 2 weeks in advance or whatever. So you'll have to look and figure that out. But yeah, you'd stay at that campground and then the next day hit those lakes. So for this trip, we did Trail Ridge Road, which is the main road that goes through the park up to the highest point and then back down. And then of course you have a few other like roads here and there, but that's like the main road you'd take. So we came from downtown Denver and came up through Estes Park and entered there from the northeast side, which takes about 2 hours or so. So we passed through Estes Park, and on the right you'll see the Stanley Hotel, which is what inspired Stephen King to write The Shining. So they didn't actually film it there. They filmed that in Oregon at the Timberline Hotel and a couple other places. I think in Yosemite part of it was filmed, and actually somewhere in the UK. And of course some sets in Hollywood or whatever. But yeah, if you want to spend like $350, you could stay there if you want. We first stopped in the visitor center, like kind of a normal, typical tourist kind of thing to do. And, you know, they have some trinkets and a bathroom and some information at the ranger station and stuff like that. And then I checked out the restaurant there. And I'll have to tell you, I haven't seen people in worse working conditions in my life. I think I would rather be waterboarded all day than have to listen to John Denver like 24/7. Anyway, I'm sure those guys survive if they make really good tips. But yeah, I would have to make some pretty big bucks to listen to Rocky Mountain High all day. Not that John Denver's the worst, but just all day long on a loop, that would be a little rough. And so the first place we checked out was Horseshoe Falls. We stopped and had some lunch and a little picnic there, and then it only takes like 10 or 15 minutes to like walk up and around those falls, which are pretty decent. And then there's like other trails you could walk around that are like really well maintained and stuff like that. And actually the park itself, I think, has about 355 miles of trails, so there's a lot of trails going through there. So after the waterfall, we headed up on Old Fall River Road, which is a dirt road that goes off to the right. There's basically two roads that go up to the top. You've got like the main road, and then you've got this one. So that's kind of a nice loop because you could get to the top and then take the main road down, as long as you feel comfortable on that dirt road, because it is really narrow and a little bumpy. But it was cool. We saw an elk about halfway up, and there was some nice views. And then you get to the top, and you know, there's a lot of people, of course. I think they get about 4 or 5 million people a year, so that's one of the reasons why they have these timed reservations. But up there we saw a bunch of other elk, and there were some marmots, and you know, that day in general we saw, you know, a bunch of different kinds of like birds and chipmunks and different things. I think if you go over to the west entrance, which is where we didn't go, you'll see some moose and some other things, and there's a chance you could also see some black bear and stuff like that. Back in the day, they used to have bison and grizzly bears and a couple other things like that, but most of them got driven out about 100 or 150 years ago. When the first settlers went through there, they killed them or drove them out. So I think most of those got pushed up into like Wyoming and stuff like that. At the top, you're around 12,000 feet, so you might feel a little out of breath and a little lightheaded from altitude sickness or from the elevation in general. Definitely have some warm clothes, you know, even if it's the middle of summer. Like, you know, in Denver, it was almost 95 degrees, but up there, you know, it's getting down into the 50s and stuff like that, and you can still get hail and stuff. So make sure you have warm clothes going up there. Then we made our way back down. We made a couple other little stops, and it's a pretty nice trip. You know, I would definitely like to go back and see that Bear Lake Road and see those lakes. I personally think that would be nicer. Some of those vistas and high views you could see in a few other areas. You know, obviously you go up to like Pikes Peak or Mount Evans, which actually has a higher road. It's not a continuous road, but it goes up to about 14,000 feet. And Pikes Peak is somewhere up pretty high too. So, and then there's a lot of other passes in Colorado you could go up that are around that high too. So I don't think you have to go through Rocky Mountain National Park to see beautiful things. The Rocky Mountains themselves go through, you know, the northern part of New Mexico, through Colorado, up through Wyoming, up to Canada, up to British Columbia, almost to Alaska. So don't just think that like if you miss Rocky Mountain National Park, you're not going to see amazing things. I've already been to a few other lakes in the meantime, and there's some awesome, really pretty lakes with almost no people that are even a little closer than Rocky Mountain National Park. So that's just something to consider. But at the same time, that Bear Lake Road down to those lakes in Longs Peak does have a few of the prettiest things in Colorado. So it's worth checking out. I would spend a whole day and do as many lakes as you can. If you're really feeling adventurous, you could head up to Longs Peak. I think that's about a 9 or 10 hour round trip, and it's pretty difficult. It's like a class 3. So, you know, people definitely get injured and die up there. I think about, I don't know, maybe 69 people have died over the last, you know, I don't know, 50 years or something. But when you get near the top, it definitely gets really sketchy, especially if it's icy. So be careful if you're going to head up there, especially if you don't have any experience doing that kind of thing, because it's over 14,000 feet. You could get bad weather too. A few people have died by getting hit by lightning. So it's not just people slipping and falling. There could be other things that happen. So definitely be careful. So it's a pretty cool trip. I'll definitely make another video when I go down that Bear Lake Road and check out those lakes, as well as go through that west entrance, because I didn't see the very southwest part. But if you don't have a lot of time, you know, if you just take that main road up to the highest point, it's still a really cool trip. Just make sure you get these reservations in advance. And also, if you guys are interested in coming on a trip sometime with me to Rocky Mountain National Park or any of these other super cool alpine lakes, whether you know, hiking for the day or camping or whatever, let me know. I'll put some links below, and it could be a really nice trip. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see more content. My channel has a lot of different stuff from my travels around the world, whether hiking or biking, and some of the things over the years I've done, whether I was in the military, commercial fishing in Alaska, or my experience living in China and Taiwan for 15 years, and I was a teacher there and led tours and did all kinds of stuff. So if that stuff's beneficial for you or entertaining, subscribe, and I hope to see you next time. Cheers.